Fine. Vasudeva. Hare Syam no mitrasyam varunaha Syam no bhavatvaryama Syam na indro bruhaspatihi Syam no vishnurukramaha Namo brahmane namaste vayo Tvameva pratyaksham brahmasi Tvameva pratyaksham brahma vadishyami Ratam vadishyami Satyam vadishyami Tanmamavatu Tadvaktaramavatu Avatu mam Avatu vaktaram Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi Sarva Vedartha Tattvajnam Vedartha Pratipadakam Purana Sara Sarvajnam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Pratya Paschatya Deshanam Samanvaya Vidhayakam Shantam Saumya Gunopetam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Om Asmad Gurubhyo Namah. So welcome to all our brothers and sisters. So after a gap of 2 weeks, we are here to continue our study. Because of our festival of Mother Goddess for 9 days, we had a long festival and many rituals. And afterwards, since we had to attend some marriage functions, so we had a gap of 2 weeks. So now we continue our study. So we have studied about the obstacles which we come across in the practice, in our practice of yoga. So we have studied in detail about those obstacles. Now, after that, Patanjali has explained in the next aphorism, that is aphorism 31. In this aphorism, he has explained some other ancillary aspects which also we come across along with those 9 types of obstacles which we have studied earlier. So this 31, aphorism 31, we have just studied the aphorism during our last session. So what are these ancillaries? Ancillaries means those which are also alike and they also come up along with the obstacles. These are the situations we experience in our life, in our human life. This also he is explaining. So one is called dukkha. Dukkha means sorrow. And the second one is despondency, daurmanasya. That means the mind is depressed. And the third one is angamejayatva. That means instability of the organs like the limbs in the body. And also the fourth one is swasa praswasa. That means inhalation and exhalation. In this also there will be a distortion. So there are these 4 types of distortions. They come into existence along with those 9 types of obstacles which were described previously. They are called sahabhuvaha in this aphorism. Sahabhuvaha means the one which are born along with, like brothers and sisters, When I have a brother or I have a sister, it is called sahabhuva. That means who is born along with me, following me. So like this, these 4 types of situations, they are like the brothers and sisters for the 9 types of obstacles which were described, which were explained and studied before. So, wherever there is an obstacle which causes distortion or distraction of the mind, there you can find these 4 types of situations also, which are explained in this aphorism 31. So, the first one is dukkha. Dukkha means sorrow. So, there will be some cause So immediately our mind reacts to that, gets distracted, caught, the mind is caught in sorrow. Why there is sorrow? Because there is some unexpected situation, unexpected and unwanted situation which we never like that situation. Suppose I have I am in a big business, suppose, very big international business, and suddenly he received a news that this year the whole investment has gone. It went into a loss totally. So this is unexpected. When you are doing successfully the business for many years, you will never expect that you will get a loss. But he got it without any expectation. We expect a profit, but he got a loss. So this causes sorrow to the mind. Similarly, someone who is closely related has left his body. That means he died suddenly, which is not expected before. So this also causes sorrow to the mind. So then what happens? Such a sudden cause, such a sudden situation causes distraction of the mind. This is commonly experienced by many people. Because when such a strong situation is there, unexpected, like financial loss or like losing a friend, death of a friend, and all such situations, there will be a big blow on the mind. Chitta vikshepa, it is called. That means mind will receive a blow. Then in that situation, how can he proceed with the practice of yoga? That is the question here. Because in the previous aphorisms, as explained, you have to make Ishvara Pranidhana, and then you have to call Ishvara by uttering Om continuously, calling and contemplating, linking up our mind to that consciousness, higher consciousness, by, by contacting the meaning of the Om. So these are all explained. So when there is such situation like this unexpected sorrow, where our mind is like a blown out, then how is that one can continue practice of yoga? Yeah. So if somebody tries to console him saying that, oh, it happens in the human life, you have to put up with it. Then he says, okay, you are telling me how you will feel if it happens to you. Like that he will ask. So how can you console such person? And how can you make him to stick on, to continue his practice of yoga by overcoming this sorrow? How is it possible? So that is the question. Because when once the mind is very much disturbed or depressed, when you have a deep sorrow, sudden unexpected deep sorrow, then the mind is disturbed. So how can you bring solace to this person? And how can you make him come back to the practice of yoga? If you quote sentences from the scriptures, or if you uh, try to tell some words to create courage to him, but still it is not easy because his mind is like shattered by the situation. So nobody, either a psychologist or a politician or a economist, nobody can be useful in this situation to bring him back to overcome sorrow and all this and make him continue in his practice of yoga and all this. So therefore, this is very strong. This is also like an obstacle. So along with the other 9 obstacles, the situation also is so strong. So what he has to, because he has to, we have to help, one have to help him to realize that either sorrow or happiness, these things depend upon the past karma. But this he has to accept it, and he has to be convinced that he has to realize that this is due to past karma. So one has to rise above that level of his psychological state. That means he has to rise above the mind, and that means he must be trained to practice, to pursue all equally. Joy or sorrow, is there not? There are many such pairs of opposites. So when we get something which we have expected, we'll feel joyful. When we come across a disappointment, then we get sorrow. So one must be trained to face sorrow or joy equally. So one has to be trained to rise to the higher level. From there to look at these things like birth and death, old age, disease, sorrow. So that one has to rise above this. This type of perception one has to get. It is just like having an aerial view. You see, for example, when there is some very big event, it may be a festival or a football or a cricket match or something at certain place where the whole place is overcrowded and blocked. If you are on the street along with the crowd, you will feel suffocated. What you have to do to avoid this, you have to go upstairs on a building, and from there he can have an aerial view. Then he can see all these things, what are happening, but he will not get suffocated because he is not on that level. He is standing on the higher level. So this we have to practice. We have to practice to stand on a higher level than that level of mind where it is affected with sorrow and all these things. So it is called aerial view. Suppose you are in an aeroplane or on a helicopter, then you are not blocked anywhere. From there you can see everywhere it is blocked. Another example is when there are floods. When there was heavy flood due to heavy rain, and certain areas are all trapped with the flowing water around, from where they cannot escape. So if you are there with them, you are also trapped there, naturally. But if you are on a helicopter, from there you can see what is happening, but you are not trapped there. So just like that, we have to practice to raise ourselves above this level of mind. Rise above this so that you are not affected by any of these joy or sorrow, old age, death, all these things. Then you are not affected. That means you have to practice how you are not identified with the situation. There is the solution. If you are identified with the situation, then you are caught. So you should not get identified. You have to stand above that as a spectator. How can it be possible when you are in that situation? And that is the question we get. Yes, even though you are there on that situation, but if you know how you can be free from by not getting identified, then you will not experience any sorrow there. You are above that. You will do what you have to do then in that situation, but you are not, your mind is not occupied by sorrow or despondency and all this. That is the way how you have to overcome that. That is called anu. It is called to transcend. We have to transcend these things. So anudarsana it is called. So not just normal, darsana means looking. So anudarsana. We have to look at it on a transcendental manner. So how can we get this anudarsana? As long as the obstacle is there, you cannot. So you have to rise above the obstacle. So then, where is it possible that there are no obstacles when the obstacles are absent? Is it possible that you can make the obstacles disappear from your way, from your path? Because there are so many causes which cause sorrow for us like that. But when you practice to contemplate upon Pranava, that is Om, you should not forget that aphorism, Tasya Vachaka Pranavaha. Tasya Vachaka Pranavaha, which we have studied, aphorism 23. That means how we can call the Lord indweller is by uttering Om through our inhalation and exhalation. So that is called Pranava Upasana. That means trying to be nearer and nearer to that Om. Because Om is the sound which is continuously being uttered by the Lord indweller from inside. And you also should call him by uttering this Om to reach him. So then, when you constantly practice this Pranava Upasana, that means to be nearer and nearer to that Om. When you link up your lower mind to that higher consciousness by the utterance of Om, then what happens in our daily life? There will be causes for our sorrow, but sorrow will disappear. You see, in our human life, we see many causes, many reasons, many causes which are responsible to bring our mind to feel sorrow. So when we practice this contemplation on the Lord consciousness by uttering Om, because just in the previous aphorism he said tad japaha tadartha bhavana. So contemplating on the meaning of this sound letter Om. So that we have to repeatedly keep practicing. Then what happens is all these apparent causes which we come across which bring sorrow. The change, what is the change that happens by this is that causes may be there, but sorrow will disappear. Suppose we have failed in something in our effort on the physical plane due to some cause. So cause is there, but we will not get into sorrow. Our mind keeps tranquil because we have been contemplating on Pranava. See, this is how we have to get into it. We have to correlate this. See? That is why we are studying each aphorism with much details, with many examples, and in a slow manner, not in a hurry, not in a haste. Because if we study them in a hurry, then we will miss many things. So we have to study systematically with applicable examples in our life. That is important. So we may come across some causes for sorrow, but sorrow will disappear. But you may ask that when there is cause, then there will be effect, cause and effect, you know. When you have sown some seeds, then they start sprouting. Therefore, when such seeds are there, which cause sorrow, then they will sprout, causing sorrow. So how can you avoid this? How can you prevent these seeds from germinating? You know, when you have some seeds soaked in water, so when you have thrown them on the ground, then they start sprouting. If you don't want them to sprout, how can you do it? How can you prevent them from sprouting? You just roast them, roast the seeds in a pan. Then they will lose their capacity to germinate. So even though you put them in water, they will not germinate. Even though you put them in soil, they will not germinate. That is how we have to practice Vairagya, which was explained by Patanjali in the very beginning. Then what happens? That the causes, which are seeds, will be roasted by this practice. So therefore they cannot germinate. So therefore, if you will not get sorrow, even though you have the situation. You will transcend the situation. You see, it is naturally you will transcend. It is not just pretending. Suppose I am practicing yoga, or some of you may believe that, oh, Ananda Krishna is already a yogi. Huh? Then, if it is true, then they should be proved when there are situations practical in the life. Then only you can know it. It can be proved. If I won't get sorrow, even though situation is very sorrowful, if I won't get this sorrow, they did not suppressing this sorrow, but not affected by this by the sorrowful situation. Otherwise, what happens is, if I feel sorrow because when I have not transcended, only people may think that, yeah, he is a yogi. But if I have not transcended, then what happens is, even though there is sorrow, and I will suppress inside and I try to show a smiling face, even though situation is very sorrowful. You say, ah, yes. So artificially, I try to expose myself as if I have transcended, because I am afraid that when people are thinking about me as a yogi, if I express my sorrow, then they will know the truth that I am not a yogi. Then they will not respect me like before. So with all these things in my mind, I may try to suppress the sorrow and make an artificial expression as if I have transcended. But that is not the situation. It should be a real experience, natural. That is why Patanjali said in the very beginning, you have to apply abhyasa, repeated effort. So like that, a real yogi will not suppress his feelings. He will not, only thing is, he will not get identified with the situation, but not suppressing his feelings. That is the difference between a yogi and a false yogi. So that is how we have to deal with sorrow. And another one, along with this sorrow, is daurmanasya, depressed mind, despondent mind. Always is despondent because he is always, he feels pessimistic about his future. He'll think, well, what will happen to me and to my wife and to my children, how they will be. So this fellow all the time, even though he is in his work, prescribed work at his office, but his mind always will be thinking how my wife will be there at home, how my children will be there, if they are safe, if they are caught in any accident. Like that, all apprehensions, his mind will be full of apprehensions. Because of this depressive situation. That is called daurmanasya. This is another one. Just like sorrow, this is also another situation which sprouts up along with the obstacles described. So, daurmanasya, depressed mind, despondent mind, this also should be transcended in the same manner. And then another one, which is explained in this aphorism, is angamejiyatva. So parts of his body always moving, he is unstable. Why it happens? He cannot be in the same posture. He cannot keep himself without moving. You can observe some persons, even though they are engaged in their study, or even though they are listening to a class, or even though they are attending to their work in the office, then involuntarily it starts that they start moving the legs or hands. So no stability in their physical posture. So then this will not allow the person to continue with yoga practice. How can he make practice of yoga? Because practice of yoga requires to attain stability of mind and stability with ease, which is called asana. You know, in the 8 steps of yoga, Patanjali, which has described, the 3rd step is called asana, stability at ease. So physical stability how can it be attained? This is possible only when he attains mental stability. How can one attain mental stability? When his mind follows his instruction, then only. So before we get into the practice of yoga, we are in non-yogic state of mind. So in a non-yogic person, the mind directs him and commands him. He doesn't have any control on his mind. So therefore, physical stability absolutely is not possible, because we have to, when you sit for a long time and you are instructed not to move, sit in the same posture without moving any part of the body. How long you can do it? You may with great difficulty sit for 1 hour or like that. After that, the body demands that you have to allow it to move. Otherwise, you get stiff. Yeah. So for this purpose, they have prescribed physical exercises, hatha yoga. So you have to select some of the yoga asanas and keep practicing them. Or you have to select some physical effort and keep practicing it every day. So when we have to overcome this obstacle, we want to overcome this obstacle of the instability of body, parts of the body. And if you want to keep this obstacle away from the practice of Chitta Vritti, we have to every day practice some selected yogasanas or some selected exercises. So, we have to get, for all these things, we have to have a mental stability. And another one which was explained in this aphorism is about our inhalation and exhalation. So, we are prescribed to make practice of pranayama, but as prescribed in the shastra means in the science, originally by the scientists, by the rishis or scientists. So we have to follow the procedure which is given in the scriptures. So we have to always remember the steps which are given to us in practice of pranayama with our inhalation and exhalation. What is important in pranayama is that inhalation and exhalation are going on continuously in us, without which we are not possible for us to be alive. That we know. So inhalation and exhalation, when we contemplate upon Pranava, the Om, the sound Om, by uttering it and listening to it, and we practice that, then what happens is these inhalation and exhalation will no more be obstacles to you. The pulsations which cause inhalation and exhalation get neutralized. So the activity of prana continues by neutralizing these pulsations. And you will experience the presence of the Lord consciousness in you. When you get into the experience of the Lord consciousness, face to face you are with the Lord consciousness. That is what is explained in the aphorism 29, which we have studied. When you are face to face, when you stand face to face with the I am with the inner Lord consciousness in you, then what happens is all these obstacles will disappear. That is what is explained also in aphorism 31. In this aphorism 31, it is explained that if you have not attained this, then all the obstacles will be there. But if you practice this, then all the obstacles will disappear. So therefore, we have to remember that this state of yoga, which is the state of chitta vritti nirodha, this we should not forget, because it is very beginning. Is what yoga chitta vritti nirodha. Yoga means the state of suspension of the behavior of mind. Chitta vritti nirodha. Nirodha means suspension. Chitta vritti means behavior of mind. So, for that, he brought us. This is like building up of a temple, you know. What is the temple? Our body, our constitution is a temple. So we have to reach the sanctum sanctorum. That means the innermost of our consciousness in this temple. It is already established there that the Lord is there in this temple. That is why he said, Ishvara is there as the indweller. That is what Patanjali also explained, and also it is explained in Bhagavad Gita by Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna said, where is the address of Ishvara, the Lord Supreme? He said, he is there. He is there sitting on the inside, he is there sitting inside the temple of your consciousness. See, the heart center of consciousness. So he is there. He is always there in all the beings. That is the place of Ishvara. And that is what he said always. So, therefore, he is Ishvara Pranidhana. That is what he said. So what we have to do, how we can get at the Ishvara, the indweller, is by surrendering what I have to what I am. That is what he said in Ishvara Pranidhana, in that aphorism. Surrender what I have to what I am. What I am is the Lord consciousness. What I have is the light around him. So, this is in these aphorisms, Ishvara Pranidhana, aphorism 23, and Tasya Vachaka Pranavaha, it means we can call him by his name, by uttering Om. And tad japa tadartha bhavanam. And also in aphorism 28, contemplating on the meaning of this utterance of Om. So in these aphorisms, he has made the inner part of the temple where the Lord is called up and the Lord is made to be there. It is just like constructing a temple and consecrate the idol of the Lord inside the sanctum sanctorum. Like that, in these aphorisms, 3 aphorisms, he has built up the internal part and he brought the Lord consciousness there. Now he is just like how when we build a temple and we bring the idol and install the idol inside the sanctum sanctorum. After that, we make so many decorations and we apply so many colors, so many decorations and all these things. When once the Lord is made to sit there, after that we can make all these things. But without the Lord there is no use of making all these decorations. So therefore, now since he, through these aphorisms, he brought that Lord consciousness, Supreme Lord, the place where he is there. Now he is, in the next aphorism, he is giving as like the decoration. In the aphorism 32, he says, Tat pratishedhardham ekatva abhyasaha. So, this he is summing up that what we have to do to prevent all these obstacles. Because he has explained us all the obstacles and also the ancillary obstacles in the last 2 aphorisms. Now he says that how is it possible, what we have to do to prevent these obstacles. That is what he is explaining in this aphorism 32. He says that it is possible by practicing to experience the real and eternal existence our real existence in us. What is our real existence? It is the Lord consciousness. That is the eternal and real existence in us. All the other things are around it. But what is our real existence? What is it? That is the I am in us. All other things are I have, what I have. This we should not forget. We have 2 aspects in us, which were explained earlier. One is what I am, and another is what I have. What I am is the Lord in us. What I have is all that radiation around him, around the Lord, coming out from him. That is what he said, Ishvara Pranidhana, a total surrender of what I have to what I am. So then what happens, what we have to practice is to continuously to be in that experience of our real existence. That means experience of I am constantly. That can be possible by uttering Om and listening to it. Tasya vachika pranavaha. So we have to study these aphorisms with this linking process. Otherwise, you study each aphorism separately without this link, then you cannot really get into it. So therefore, in this aphorism 32, he says that now we have known all the types of obstacles and their ancillaries. Now we have to know that how can we get prevented? How can we prevent these obstacles? It is not how to get into the obstacles and try to eliminate them, but prevent them. You see, these are two options for us. One is that we can get involved in the obstacles and fighting with them and trying to fight with them and how to trying to get out from them. That is one thing. So what methods we have to apply to get out of these obstacles? But he says here, we must know how to prevent them, keep them away. Making our progress, preventing these obstacles, not reaching us, not coming on our way. How is it possible? That is what he is explaining in this aphorism 32. He says it is possible by keeping a continuity of experience of the continuous real existence. So that is what he says. Tat pratishedha. To keep those obstacles prevented. What we have to do is we have to practice ekatva, unity. We have to practice unity. Unity means the oneness of the Lord consciousness. What is this? You know, we have different layers of our existence, like Annamaya, that means our physical body, and Pranamaya, vital, Manomaya and mental, Vijnanamaya, Buddhic, and Anandamaya. So we know this already. So then How is this practice of unity? How we can practice this? So we start with our physical body. So what is this physical body? It is an instrument. It is not ourselves. It is our instrument. That is true. But itself, it is not I am, myself. It is made up of the 7 tissues. So we are not the tissues. Tissues they belong to our body, but we are not one with the tissues. So how the tissues are made up of? They are made up of the biological cell. The unicellular unit, each cell. So a group of these cells constitute these 7 tissues of our body. Okay. Then of what? From what these cells are made up of? The biological cell. Oh, yes. They are made up of molecules and atoms. Because when you analyze the cell, biological cell in our body, you will find some substances like calcium, phosphorus, iron, and all the substances, elements. And they are constituted by the corresponding molecules and atoms that we know. If you take a part of the hair, if you take a bone, if you take a skin, you may take any part of the body, any tissue, you will find the biological cell from your, and in the biological cell, you will find these elements. Then there, you will find they are made up of these molecules and atoms. Okay. Then, how these atoms are constituted? They are constituted by force. There is the force. That also proved. It is not denied. It is made up of force. Okay. So then, what is there inside this force? What is it made up of? It is made up of the ultimate existence, which is called the Lord Indweller, the I Am. That is the goal. So now you see, you have focus. When we focus our mind to probe, to reach this innermost point of our existence, you may from anywhere, you will reach there only. You may take the animate or inanimate, any substance, probe into the core of it, you will reach there only. That is the ultimate. When you focus your mind to this, then you realize that it is the one continuous existence. See, what we are experiencing on the physical plane is we are only perceiving different objects, so-called different objects. It is also without knowing the unity. If you ask what is this, it is my shirt. What does it mean? What is it really? It is a piece of cloth. With the same piece of cloth, if you make in this shape, you call it a shirt. If you make in another form, you call the inner clothes. So it depends upon in which form you use, but it is only the piece of cloth. It's only one substance, but you are making it in different shapes, so you call it different names. So, therefore, we have to probe like that to get into the unity, the oneness, to experience the oneness. That is what he says in this. So, ekatva abhyasaha. So, practice the oneness. So, we have to focus your mind to this oneness of existence. So, what Patanjali is doing is that he is bringing us nearer and nearer to the experience of the Lord consciousness in a very simple manner. So therefore, what he said in the beginning, that yoga is chittavritti nirodhaha, the state of suspension of mind, you see, that we should not forget. Exactly that same thing once again here. He says that it is the one existence. So, how can we keep all the obstacles prevented from our way? Because our aim of practicing yoga is to get stabilized in that yogic state where we constantly experience the presence of the indweller. So once again in this aphorism, he says that during this practice we have studied, there are so many obstacles which we come across in our daily life. You know, in our human life, he has identified 9 types of obstacles. Vighna. Vighna means obstacle. So, to know the nature of obstacle, we have studied it from that aphorism previously. Why we have studied about the obstacle, about the Vighna is, we have to know what is an obstacle. then we can avoid that. You see? Just like how we are driving our vehicle to reach one place. So we know some particular way, but we also should know that if there are any obstacles placed there, suddenly there can be an obstacle you find. So then we will be shocked. What should we do now? This is a practical experience for any one of us. You see, even when we are driving on the highway to reach certain place, but suddenly we see that there are some barricades placed there, and he has given a direction, take diversion. Yes. So we have to know what is the nature of obstacle. Suddenly there can be some heavy rain and the water will be flowing, overflowing of the water, flood. There can be an obstacle. Like that in our life, in our journey of our life, our soul, in the physical plane, we are on the mundane plane, mundane world. So there can be some obstacles. So he has identified 9 types of obstacles and another 4 types of ancillary obstacles. So now we have some idea about the obstacles. Now we want to, how we can prevent ourselves from getting nearer to the obstacles, so that our journey can be very harmonious, very easy to reach the goal. So how can we keep these obstacles prevented from our path? Is to keep focus on the unity, on the oneness, one experience, one continuous experience of the Lord consciousness. That is what he says. He explains in this aphorism 32. You see. He continues also some more of the same subject in our next aphorism, aphorism 33. He gives some more things which we have to put in practice in our daily life, which makes it easy for us to prevent ourselves from getting nearer the obstacles and keep our journey, keep our progress without obstacles. That is it. That is what he is giving in this aphorism 33. Maitri Karuna Muditopekshanam Sukha Dukkha Punya Punya Shayanam Bhavanatas Chitta Prasadanam. So what he says here is Maitri. So how we have to proceed in this practice is that sympathetic attitude. What is Maitri? Maitri means sympathetic attitude. And another thing is Karuna. Karuna means tenderness. So sympathetic attitude is the first thing. Second one is Karuna, tenderness. And the third one is mudita. Mudita means rejoicing. And the fourth one is upeksha. Upekshana. Upeksha means disinterestedness. Disinterested. That is upeksha. Not interesting. Upeksha means. So that is one. And then sukha. Sukha means pleasure. And dukkha. Dukkha means affliction. And punya. Punya means good. Apunya means evil. Vishayanam. Vishaya means objects, towards the objects. Bhavanataha means by contemplation. Chitta prasadanam. Poise of the formed consciousness. Formed consciousness means mind. So the total meaning of this aphorism is, by contemplating sympathy, tenderness, rejoicing, and disinterestedness towards the objects of pleasure, pain, good and evil, one can achieve tranquility of the mind. So this is very important. So tranquility of the mind is to be achieved. When once we can reach this tranquility of mind, then we find no obstacles. All the problems we come across in this mundane world is because we lose tranquility of mind. We always get anxious. When we lose tranquility, then we often get anxiety of mind. We are caught in anxiety. Then we are always subjected to all types of bad experiences. When we lose the tranquility of mind, then all our experience is very unpleasant experience. That is what we get in this. So what we have to do is, our mind always constantly is habituated to go out and keep close to the happenings of the outer world. This is one of the things, that is why we have we are not tranquil. You see, why we are always disturbed is, we have 5 outlets. And the mind makes its exit through these 5 outlets into the outer world, where there are many objects for our senses. Then how the mind cannot be tranquil. The mind always gets into anxiety and instability and all sorts of disturbance of mind. The mind can be in tranquil state only when the mind is focused towards the Lord consciousness inside. But unfortunately, when we are not on the yogic practice, the tendency of our mind is always to make an exit towards objects of our senses, outside world. So it is completely on the opposite direction from the Lord consciousness inside. That is the problem. So here, first of all, we have to practice Maitri, sympathetic attitude. Towards whom? If you oppose the mind and try to use force on the mind, it becomes our enemy. That is the problem. Then you have to live with your own enemy in yourself. That makes it impossible to be happy. So, sympathy, you have to be sympathetic. Maitri. Maitri means friendly and sympathetic manner you have to deal with your mind. You should make your mind feel a friend with you, not an enemy. If you make your mind feel that you are its enemy, then it's impossible. So, this is very, very, very practical. Now he is focusing upon the how to deal in our mundane life. We have to live in this world, mundane world. But at the same time, we have to keep ourselves, our mind tranquil. How is it possible? That is what he is explaining in his aphorism 33, which we will continue in our next class, next week. Thank you all. We will try to what we have studied so far, we try to put it into practice in our daily life with all the transactions, with all the persons around us, situations around us. That is how we have to study this. Thank you all. Swasti prajabhyah paripalayantam nyajena margena mahim mahishaah gobrahmanebhyah subhamastu nityam lokaah samasta sukhino bhavantu lokaah samasta sukhino bhavantu lokaah samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Vasudeva. Vasudeva. Vasudeva.